I'm Jeff Hunt. He's Bill Thorpe. How much do you love those windmills?
As a texter said, should we harness the hot air coming from the president?
I was going to say, that's a lot of hot air coming from Bill Thorpe
yes,
over there.
I know.
You got the text messages going here, Mr. Thorpe. Billy,
yes, I have.
windmills blades are made of fiberglass. They have to be replaced often and are non-biodegradable. They're filling our landfills. Check it out by Googling. Ron from Stapleton.
I love that, Ron. Thanks, but you assume, based on that, check it out by Googling. I don't know. Again, electronic communication is harsher. I know that. And I never said, and I'm texting back right now, I never said that wind power was 100% perfect, but it does need to be supplemental. One of the things that I believe the green energy proponents forget in this entire conversation is many of the components and things that you need to use to build and create the renewables are derivatives of oil. That you got to be using some plastics and other things in order to create some of those things that you're going to use. This isn't an either or. It's a all of the above. And we should be maximizing the all of the above. That's why I get really mad with the idea when you talk about it, Jeff, of driving through rural Colorado and you see just large fields covered in solar panels. That is stupid. Why are we doing that? That is dumb. You might as well just go out there and pave a giant parking lot. And how many times would the green energy people go, giant parking lots are bad for the environment? Okay,
yes,
that's
exactly.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And you have a governor that wants us all off of oil and gas by 2040.
And here's the idea. I mean, you do it. Again, we've talked about it before. You want to put solar panels and you want to increase the solar capacity of Colorado. You start dropping those solar panels on the top of the buildings and the houses. Drop them on top of the buildings and the houses. Look at the houses and the buildings in your neighborhood. What type of power could be generated if every single one of those roofs that has a south-facing exposure had solar panels on it? What would happen in your neighborhood to your energy bills if all of those houses were producing energy? It's supplemental. It doesn't replace what we're doing, but it makes everything else more affordable. That's what we should be doing. Giant fields of solar panels, phenomenally stupid. Dumb.
We're going to clip that and use it in Elbert County because that's what they want to do.
Yes, they should. Clip it. I'll go there and I will scream at them about how stupid they are. I'll be more than happy. I'll show up. Yeah, absolutely.
8714. If you really cared about clean energy production with the smallest footprint, you'd be advocating for nuclear. It's cheap, abundant, and has zero emissions. I'm not sure you could say zero emissions, but zero. 8714, I fully believe that the future is nuclear. 100%.
Yeah, the problem that we're going to get to is what do you do with the waste? And that'll be the problem, is because right now,
Bill, you put it into a pond and you get blinky.
I know, that's the thing. See,
three-eyed fish.
Exactly. That's the thing, like Ron from Stapleton saying, those windmill blades have to be thrown into landfills, and the same thing. When you have that nuclear waste on the other end, you've got to do it with something. You got to do something with it. And I don't know. I mean, the thing for me, if Elon would sit there and say, hey, I got an idea, SpaceX is going to design the nuclear trash bags so we can just, shoot them into space. We don't care about that. It's not our space at this point. We can just send it off in another direction and just see what happens later.
Cool, actually.
Yeah. Again, it's expensive, but that would be a very palatable solution to so many.
7143 texted in, why not complement oil with natural gas and complement natural gas with coal? And then I think other things. But 7143, that would not make you a good communist. You need to shiver in your house eating your crickets, just like Mom Dami and the rest of the communists want you to live your life like.
That is the problem that the green energy folks didn't figure out early enough in this, is they made it an either or, and it should have been a supplemental. If you come to someone saying, hey, if we use a portion of green energy to generate our power, you will pay less money. Now you have everybody's attention and you have a winning argument. That's the direction they should have gone.
If you're just tuning in, here's Trump at the World Economic Forum. There are windmills all over the place and they are losers. China is very smart. They make them. They sell them for a fortune. They sell them to the stupid people that buy them and they don't even use them themselves. They're shocked that people continue to buy those darn things. They killed the birds. They ruined your landscapes. Other than that, I think they're fabulous, by the way. Stupid people buy them. Do you agree? Join the conversation. I totally agree. As someone who drives around both rural eastern, south, and western Colorado, they're the ugliest darn things out there, and they've ruined the landscape. And yes, stupid people buy them. Now it's time, though, for the news.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good morning. It is Wednesday, 21 and clear in Denver. Expecting a high of 48 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story.
Well, I mean, I think we're going to see the attack on landlords, small businesses, parents. It's the same thing. Just, it's like Groundhog Day, I feel like.
Representative Brandy Bradley is running for re-election, represents the rural Douglas County areas near Castle Rock, introducing bills and fighting the insanity, the craziness at the state capitol. On with Jeff and Billy last hour, and once again, she's trying to protect the kids from our state. It's
bringing back the whole name change again, right? We're going to let kids change their name. And then if you aren't willing to accommodate that, it's going to be used against you in a court of law. You know what? We have the troops assembled. Somebody said it perfectly. They thought that nothing could unify lesbians, feminists, the gay community, the conservatives. Well, they're doing it, and we are a troop, and we are not backing down. If anything, we have more fight in us than we ever have before.
And she's excited about the Second Amendment protection bill that she's helping to introduce.
So we are repealing every gun bill that they have brought forward, or anti-gun bill, I should say, that they have brought forward to strip us of our constitutional right to keep and bear arms. And we have listed all of those out: 3-day waiting period, background checks on the private transfer of firearms, you name it, it's in this bill. We are going to battle. We believe that it's our constitutional right.
Another outstanding patriot from Colorado. Thank you, Brandy Bradley. DJT in Davos, Switzerland this morning, speaking at the WEF, and Big Daddy, he's in town telling a story about Emmanuel Macron of France, and he's right there in front listening.
No more than that. I said, Emmanuel, you're going to be doubling or tripling? No, no, no. I said, here's the story, Emmanuel. The answer is you're going to do it. You're going to do it fast. And if you don't, I'm putting a 25% tariff on everything that you sell into the United States and a 100% tariff on your wines and champagnes. And that's about 10 times more than what I'm requesting. And you're going to do it. I don't want to go public with it. But you may make me do that. No, no, Donald, I will do it. I will do it. It took me, on average, 3 minutes a country saying the same thing. You will do it. They all said, no, 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 I will not do it. You're asking me to double the cost of prescription. I said, that's right, because you've been screwing us for 30 years.
And he is exposing a lot this morning. This is even better than advertised.
Because she was so aggressive. And I realized in that conversation that the United States is keeping the whole world afloat. Many places, I could give you 6, 7 places just in the people in this little area. I know every one of them. They're looking down. They don't want to see me, and they don't want to stare me in the eyes. But they're taking advantage of, everybody took advantage of the United States. But I've been very fair, and I gave them a tariff, and it was fine. But I realized that without us, it's not Switzerland anymore. Without us, it's not any of the countries that are represented here. And we want to work with the countries. We want to work with them.
Wow, this is so good. How about Greenland?
Greenland is a vast, almost entirely uninhabited and undeveloped territory. It's sitting undefended. in a key strategic location between the United States, Russia, and China. That's exactly where it is, right smack in the middle.
Trump agreed that Denmark could not protect Greenland during World War II. He said the U.S. was stupid to give Greenland back to Denmark after the war was over. The vice president is set to visit Minnesota on Thursday as tensions escalate because of the paid protesters doing what they do best. And then the riot porn, and once again, the media covering it like these people have a legitimate reason to do what they do. Border Patrol head Greg Bovino is highlighting the arrests made during the illegal immigration crackdown in Minnesota. Bovino said they're catching the worst of the worst. Over 10,000 arrests have been made in those operations in Minneapolis. Investigators looking into the death of a snowboarder at Keystone. According to a social media post from the Summit County Sheriff's Office, a snowboarder crashed on a Black Diamond Run. Investigators said that the initial information indicates he was riding with a group of friends when he hit the snow with force. He was wearing a helmet, and no trees, blunt objects, or other people seemed to be involved in the crash. Bo Nix had his ankle surgery. At least it was scheduled on Tuesday, and everyone hoping that it went well. Today, his team will continue preparation for the Patriots AFC Championship game and everything involved with that. It just starts building today, and then throughout the weekend, 1 o'clock Sunday at Mile High against the Patriots, Jarrett Stidham takes over at quarterback. Luka Doncic, LeBron, and the Lakers in town last night.
James over to Doncic. Doncic working on Jones in the lane, puts it up and through.
38 points for Doncic, and the Lakers beat the Nuggets 115-107. 20 in Highlands Ranch, 21 in Brighton, 22 in Denver. You're waking up with Jeff and Bill on a Wednesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The Arctic Express is going to graze the Front Range and Eastern Plains of Colorado here late this week and over the weekend. Be prepared for some winter temperatures, but not for today. We're going to be mid to upper 40s, upper 30s tomorrow, and teens tonight. The cold air begins to leak in Thursday night. Much colder. Lows 5 to 10 with areas of flurries. Very cold Friday. Cold northeast winds. Highs only teens with some areas of light snow. Some areas of light snow. Lows near zero Friday night. High Saturday only teens with areas of light snow. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy, I need some help here. Help me figure out what's going on here.
Yes, okay. Start by telling me who hurt you
yes,
and why.
And why it hurts.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. All right, so I was a river guide from 2000 to 2005, 6-ish, up in Buena Vista, all summer long, taking people down the headwaters of the Arkansas. Knew that section pretty well. I've been driving around Eastern Colorado, spoke out there recently, and then yesterday was speaking in Durango, and it's just boarded up businesses everywhere. All these small town boarded up businesses. I remember 2001 too. There were restaurants humming all along the 285 kind of corridor. People visiting. So I'm driving by what seems like rural Colorado is suffering. Businesses are down, boarded up cities, and I even stopped. I showed you a video. I stopped by a Jeep museum in Sagawash.
Yeah.
I stop
Love
places.
that.
I walk around. And I'm just. It seems like rural Colorado is stuck, is not doing well. Then I see the headline from the Denver Gazette: Colorado business filings rose by 4.5% in a year. Whoa. Colorado business filings saw an uptick year over year at the end of last year. There were nearly 43,000 new business registrations across the state in the fourth quarter of 2025. 43,000. according to the quarterly business and economic indicators report released Tuesday from the University of Colorado Boulder and the Colorado Secretary of State's office. Business registrations are seasonal and saw a decline from the previous quarter, but was up 4.5% compared to the same period last year. We're seeing growth. And when we take a look at the 12-quarter rolling sum, we see even stronger growth, up about 9.7% year over year in new entity filings. But business filings were a mixed bag. There were fewer businesses renewing their registration compared to a year ago. Renewals in Colorado fell 3.4%, though it improved from the third quarter. Delinquencies, which measures how many businesses are behind on their filings, grew 9.2% in a year and 1% from the third quarter of 2025. On the bright side, the number of businesses voluntarily shutting down their operations improved greatly. Disillusions fell by more than 31% in a year. So, Bill, I feel like I'm all over the place. I'm reading about restaurants closing downtown. They can't meet the minimum wage. They're sending letters to Mayor Mike Johnston. I drive around rural Colorado with my own eyes. I'm seeing businesses shuttered, main streets with very few businesses, even marijuana shops shuttered out there. And then I read headlines about business filings rising by 4.5%. On top of that, I also see that most of the recent Colorado job growth is heavily leaned on government, with increases in medical and education, government employment, not necessarily private businesses. Bill, what is happening in Colorado?
Well, I mean, I saw some of the numbers, and it's not always government growth. I think in the last year or so, government growth was very, very small. But business growth and job growth across the country is fairly anemic at this time. And I think that's part of it. But inside of Colorado's rural community, I think there are layers of issues. One being rising cost of living versus balancing out access to services. And what I mean by that is, how close is the hospital? How close is the grocery store? How close is the school? And if you're raising a family, what type of schooling is available there? And we've heard for 4 or 5 years now that rural Colorado schools are having a tremendously difficult time, not only just finding teachers, but keeping teachers. So the quality of life, I think, is somewhat eroding. And I do feel that part of that, it's not all of it, but part of it also has to do with some of the consolidation inside of our farming and ranching communities. And what I mean by that is fewer and fewer small family-owned farms and larger corporate or investment-owned farms. And I think that is significant because family farms are people. And the more family farms you have and the more smaller ranch and family farms you have, the more people you have inside of a community. When an investor comes in and hard economic times happen and you lose a portion, even if it is only, 10, 15% of the local family farms, that's still a loss of those families and those kids and those kids' kids. And that type of a lifestyle. I talk often about the family friends that we have that live out in eastern Colorado that run a ranch out there. And there were 2 kids growing up. And I remember sitting with both the kids and then also in a roundtable discussion at times with the parents where they were talking about which one of the kids may take over the farm, what this means for the family. And this is a farm that is owned by a family as far as extended brothers, etc. So there's a number of brothers that work on the farm, and they were talking within the family which one of the kids from each sect of the family is going to be able to step up and kind of take over. And so it was my buddy and his cousin that have grown up, and they're the ones that now run the family farm. And it is a large farm, but it's still run by a family. But he talks about the number of those large investment farmers and, just the agricultural machine that is around them. And again, those are fewer people. Those are fewer people shopping, fewer people in restaurants, fewer people in schools.
You know what I didn't see driving around?
What?
In fact, I only saw one of them.
What?
Manufacturing.
Oh, that's interesting. That is
Dude,
interesting.
there is like no manufacturing out in rural Colorado.
Yeah.
Outside of the steel plant down in Pueblo.
Yeah. Yeah.
I drove
outside
by
of it,
that, saw that thing humming along.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I got a friend that works there, too.
But, I mean, it's just, bro, it's nowhere out there.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you have ag, definitely saw ag, but I'm sitting here going, you know, what America has become, and I think this is really, really serious. What America has become is so kind of global trade consumer based that these small rural communities have nothing. Like I used to live in Virginia too, and we'd drive out to West Virginia, and you would just see these like boarded up, shuttered towns.
Oh yeah,
that used to operate in West Virginia. That's what rural Colorado reminds me of right now.
Yeah, I remember rolling through Detroit during some of the difficult times where, you've got more businesses on the street that were shuttered than those that are actually open. And part of that is, loss of manufacturing, but part of the loss of manufacturing was the idea of improving the level of our lifestyle and our ability to afford things. I mean, if we were, it's an awful example, but if we were to fully manufacture the cell phones that we have in our pockets right now, there's a good portion of the show that would no longer be able to afford a cell phone because they would be priced so high in order to get that stuff done. So that's part of it as well. Is part of the reason that we outsourced some of that manufacturing was to make sure that more of those products, the end product, were more affordable when they were imported back into the country. That was the advantages of trade. It is going to raise everybody's standard of living, but we can go back the other direction, and then it hurts the standard of living because, again, it's that idea that we want to have all these good, high-paying manufacturing jobs, even though you will not have a factory filled with people doing manufacturing jobs anymore. You'll have people watching over the robots doing the manufacturing, so the jobs aren't necessarily going to be there. But they talk about these good manufacturing jobs, and then yet we complain every time things like minimum wage, or we always hear from employers because they have to pay their employees more. But if you're going to bring back manufacturing, you're going to have to pay your employees a heck of a lot more than you are if it's outsourced right now in another country.
But I just think that this is a really big pending problem. I spent time, and not just pending, it already is a big problem. I spent time a few weeks ago in Los Animas, was out there.
Yeah.
And it looked like a ghost town. And then yesterday I'm down in Durango, I'm Pagosa Springs, Mont Vista, driving through all these communities and in the San Luis Valley. And then people are telling me how to pronounce Saguache. Drove through there. I mean, it is, and then up into Salida, it is boarded up businesses after boarded up businesses after boarded up businesses. This is, and we live up in this Denver metro area. Our entire life is different than what those people's lives are like.
Oh, completely different.
I mean, it could be completely foreign. People texting in. I think because our economy was so heavy on extraction industries, Capitol Hill, we didn't get hauled out as badly as all the Midwestern states did in the 80s and 90s. I don't know how it comes back. Lexington, Nebraska is about to have a very bad time, he writes.
Yeah, there are a couple. I mean, I'm looking at some of there's a chart that the Colorado Sun has about some of the growth and things like that in adjusted employment. And they're seeing, professional and business services are where the group is, largest group of growth, and then other services. And then behind that is government and then leisure and hospitality. Manufacturing's going backwards. Same thing with mining and logging, going backwards. Construction is underwater as well. And the sector that is getting hit the worst is trade, transportation, and utilities. So it's many of those, hardcore blue collar micro type jobs that we're losing as well. And it's the trade jobs that worry me the most. Those are the ones, not the manufacturing job, but the trade jobs. The electricians, the plumbers, the HVAC. That's the one that worries me the most because those are core jobs that are needed desperately, and it's great for those individuals. But, if you have fewer electricians, you want to remodel or you want to start talking about building a new house or a new business, well, it's going to cost you so much more money to lay those wires.
I don't hear our political leaders talking in Colorado about this at all. They'll talk about like rural hospitals and schools and stuff like that. But have you seen Jared Polis get? Guys, I'm raising an alarm here. These are ghost towns, and I've driven all over the southern eastern part of the state. When has Jared Polis or the leaders of the House and the Senate ever said we've got an emergency out here with regards to manufacturing, farming, jobs? Instead, it just kind of trickles along about what's the next government program.
Yeah, I think some of it is there are some problems as far as, when we get into the manufacturing, setting up jobs. There were some things that in Biden's Inflation Reduction Act that I thought were very, very smart with relation to green energy, and that was giving tax breaks for setting up manufacturing facilities for certain arms of green energy production, battery factories and the like. And I do think when you talk about the loss of manufacturing, some of those smaller towns, that could be a window. And as much as you and I both dislike the large fields of solar panels, in theory, that would be a job creator for some of those small towns that have a lot of open space. I don't think it's the best use of the open space, and that's not what I would want to do with it, but that could keep some of those small towns afloat because you'd have to bring in people to run that. You'd have a small substation there. You'd have to have some repair people. That could provide some jobs. I would much rather, though, look for the idea of the manufacturing. I would be looking for those opportunities for EV battery manufacturing and the like. And I think Colorado offers a really wonderful lifestyle opportunity for many of those businesses that you don't get somewhere else. And so that would be the sell for me, is the idea of, do you understand how gorgeous Colorado is, and that you are just X number of, hours from the mountains to go skiing, X number of hours to go to Disneyland, X number of hours to go make bad choices in Vegas. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do.
I think the state's coalescing around major cities and government jobs. I think that's the future right now under Democrat leadership, is that these small rural communities are going to continue to wither out and die, and the jobs are going to be centered around government services provided in major cities. And I'm seeing it. But tell me where I'm wrong. Please give me a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. Let's talk Mountain High Appliance. Discover incredible savings at the Mountain High Appliance Clearance Center in Denver. Their clearance center offers a huge selection of ranges, refrigerators, washers, dryers, and more. Save up to 60% on open box, scratch, and dent display models and overstocked appliances from Bosch, Thermador, KitchenAid, and much more. When you're looking for great deals on appliances, think Mountain High Appliance Clearance Center for the best prices and selection. Here's their address, 601 East 64th Avenue in Denver, 601 East 64th Avenue in Denver. We'll get to your phone calls and texts. Is Colorado withering when it comes to manufacturing, jobs, particularly in rural parts? Is it all centralizing around major cities and government jobs? And is this the future of Democrat leadership in our state? We'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Just personal observation. I was down in Los Animas a few weeks ago. Rocky Ford, La Junta, and then yesterday, Durango. I've been driving around speaking at different Republican groups. Man, these small rural communities seem to be suffering. Lots of businesses boarded up. And one thing I noticed was there's just like no manufacturing anywhere. You get some ag, definitely ag in the San Luis Valley, but no big factories. Why aren't there factories? You have a workforce. And it seems to me like Colorado is coalescing around the major cities and government jobs. And reports show that. Is that the future of Colorado? That we're basically going to live in these major cities because there's just no opportunities anywhere. And text messages hot on this. Cap Hill Phil going, it seems like we didn't do the work from home thing properly during the pandemic. I mean, wouldn't people love to live in the San Luis Valley? It's beautiful down there. But why not? And it just doesn't seem like there's many opportunities, to be honest. Let's go to the phone lines. Jam-packed. Pete, Monument. Good morning, Pete. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning, guys. I think this is kind of a hard problem to solve because I think the rise of the corporate farms has had a lot to do with this also. It doesn't, with technology, it doesn't take a lot for a corporate farm to come in and buy up, a dozen small individual farms, and they can farm it more efficiently, driving a lot of these other jobs out of the marketplace in these small towns. Unfortunately, I think the government is going to have to get involved in both incentivize and subsidize some of these things if you want to see returns of the small town here. I'm not a fan of that, but that's probably the answer, is to give huge tax breaks to manufacturing to go into these towns, and that's the only way you could do it, because if there's not huge transportation hubs, then the cost of moving these items and the manufacturing around rises. And also, I think the shift in culture also is people, they're entertained by different things, and that the life of a small town is not as appealing to this culture anymore as it was 50 or 60 years ago.
Yeah, it's kind of wild because it feels like there was all this opportunity and development, right? From the mid-1800s on into the early 1900s, and it just seems like it all stalled out. Like there's just, I'm looking at these buildings, that no new buildings going up, no new, there's like some pot shops. Other than that, it's like nothing's been built in these towns in 80 years.
Well, if you go to these towns, it's a very older communities a lot.
Yeah.
People who grew up there, they worked there, they raised their kids there. Unfortunately, their kids are now leaving. They're going off. They're finding something, and they're not returning. Again, I think we just got to incentivize people, because imagine a large corporation sitting back and saying, well, I can get, 3,000 acres out in Los Animas County for, 10% of what it would cost in Jefferson County. So there's the incentive to go out and possibly bring, build manufacturing out there. But I think that's just a small issue on what a lot of these small communities have. And let's be honest. I mean, if you want to move out there, is education for your children something that you worry about? Is the quality of life? Are you getting the same opportunities out there? It's very sad. My in-laws are from a very small ranching and farming community just on the Kansas side of the border in Colorado. And it's an unbelievable place to go to if you want to relax and the people are down to earth. But boy, it's bring a good book.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, that's the thing, Pete, that I ran into with. Again, I talked about the friends that are out in Fort Morgan, is where they have their family farm. I've had for generations. And I would go and spend, some time during the summer with them. I would spend some time working on the farm and realizing that, oh boy, this is hard work. But when we'd go into town, this is a time where they're like, hey, we're going to go cruise, Morgan, okay? It's like a block and a half. And so we got to the end of the block, and I go, and now we turn around and do it again. I'm like, wait. Like, the only place you really stop over here is there's a 7-Eleven and there's a movie theater. Like that. And we just went back and forth down this one block over and over again. You'd pull over, you'd talk to your friends, and then they'd get back in the car. And I'm like, we could just walk back and forth this entire block and not have to get out of the car. It seemed so small compared to what I was.
You definitely have that component, but I'm just intrigued by why we built all these small towns in the mid to late 1800s. Things are humming. People are seeking opportunities. People seem happy. And then by like the 1940s, it all stalled out. And
I think that's a direct result of those towns. Most of those towns were built around agriculture, farming, and ranching. At least here in Colorado, or they had one large industrial plant or something like that, a paper mill or something like that. But when those things become outdated and technology takes over, you actually see a total decline in the town. So again, I'm not a fan of it, but government would have to subsidize and incentivize people to go back out there, build plants, and the good thing is there's opportunity out there. You probably get a cheaper workforce. You get probably cheaper tax breaks out there. But it's a different lifestyle. I'm not saying it's better or worse, but it's way more simplistic, and that doesn't appeal to everyone. It appeals to a certain amount of people.
I'm intrigued, though, by the trajectory. What's happening in Colorado is centralization around the major cities and major growth in government jobs, while small rural communities wither away. It's amazing. And is that the continued future of the direction? I don't know.
And I think, as Pete, as you point out, and I appreciate the phone call, is we also have to remember that Colorado went through a mining boom and bust. We have towns around the state that used to be hubs for mining and other things, but now they aren't. Now, we have places like Alta, you have Leadville, Georgetown, Caribou, Vicksburg, Ashcroft. All of those are former mining towns that at one time were booming. And now some are struggling to stay alive, and some are just ghost towns.
We don't really do mining in Colorado much anymore.
Nope, not anymore.
So those changes are fascinating to me. All right, let's talk Dan Caplis with Dan Caplis Law. Dan suggests that you should choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Caplis, the son of a police officer and a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who've been hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law, a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. 303-770-5551. 303-770-5551 or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS Law.com. Bill, I want to point out, it's not like our world doesn't need mining. We do more mining now than we've ever done before. Yeah. We just do it somewhere else. We need ag more than we ever had before. We just do it somewhere else. And the result is dead, small, shrinking little rural towns in Colorado and the growth of major cities. And is that a direction you want Colorado to go? Let's go to the phone lines. Mark and Aurora. Good morning, Mark. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Hi. Well, I think a lot of this has to do with water. The lower Arkansas Valley just sold their water out to Aurora. Holly Sugar was probably one of the biggest in the Foxley deal, and they cut their throat down there. And without the water, you don't have the base income. If I want to, I guess, from what I understand from the Bible, it says the source of all new wealth comes from the soil. So you either have to grow it or mine it. And that's why the government hates agriculture too. It's new money. It's worth more than a paycheck that you got from somebody else who got it from somebody else. It's kind of an odd economic concept, but it's real.
I saw that down in Los Animas because they had sold their water rights upstream to Aurora, as you mentioned. I mean, the riverbed there was dry.
And when you compare that to the lower Platte Valley, there's still water there. It didn't get sold out as bad. And when it got sold out to Denver, it goes back down the river. I mean, flush twice, please, anybody in Denver. And so it wasn't lost as much. And that's why you see the prosperity down the South Platte River Valley. And of course there's meatpacking in Greeley, in Fort Morgan, and the sugar plant in Fort Morgan. And that stuff, it's such a boom. And they had a bus plant in Lamar. And what happened to that? And then you go to Sam's or Walmart, and they'll have a cantaloupe on the shelf, and it came from California. They won't get it from Rocky Ford. Why? I don't know.
It was great observations, Mark. I appreciate it, Mark from Aurora.
Yeah, Mark, and I appreciate that. I'd forgotten about the idea of water because, that idea of it being such a valuable resource that, yes, without the water rights, and the ability, you don't necessarily have a lot of growth.
Big resource.
Yeah, because what do you do as far as just everything from drinking water? But if you're talking manufacturing, there's going to need water as well, not just for the facility, but depending on what you're manufacturing, there may be a cooling process as well. There may be some other issues there.
And that's something we're going to cover into this next hour too. I was down in Southwest Colorado, bone dry, nothing on the ground down there, as Colorado faces its worst winter drought ever on record. Whoa. And what does this mean? We're going to continue to talk all this. Join the conversation. Phone lines jam-packed. If you want to jump in on the phone lines as soon as we finish with a caller, dial right in. That phone number, 303-696-1971. Here is the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Let's talk. Well, we'll get to the next callers after this break. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Spent the last few weeks driving around eastern and southwestern parts of Colorado, noticing a lot of ghost towns, just little cities barely hanging on. And then I see a headline from the Denver Gazette: Colorado business filings have risen by 4.5%. And then other data that shows most of the government growth is coming in education and government programs. And it seems to me, my thesis is that the state's coalescing around the major cities, around government jobs. I've found no manufacturing really anywhere in Colorado. You have a little bit of ag, but this state is changing. And I wonder if it's this free trade globalists. I mean, we're still doing mining. We need mining more than ever. We're just not doing it here. We need ag more than ever. We're just not doing it here. And the end result of this globalism is bigger cities, more government dependency, smaller rural communities, no real opportunities anymore for them. And is this the future not only of Colorado, but America? Phone lines jam-packed. Let's jump into this. Tony Littleton. Good morning, Tony. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Yeah, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. I can't speak to Colorado specifically, but we may be a microcosm for what's happening across the country. I don't know if you noted the jobs, manufacturing jobs nationally, but way down across the country. And really two reasons. The biggest two industries, AI and green energy. And all those green energy jobs that were underway, the projects, they lost all their money. That got killed. And all those people immediately lost their jobs. Some bullet points of data. So for every manufacturing job we lost, Canada gained 3. China just posted the biggest surplus in their history for shipments, not to us and not buying from us, but around us. So, and another example, GM closed an auto plant because dealing with the tariffs going back and forth across Mexico, here, and Canada made it impossible, and they put $1 billion into a Canadian battery plant. That's what's happening. The jobs, the world is going on around us.
Tony, are they jobs if they have to be propped up by the government so much?
No,
you
these are
you
jobs.
talk about the green energy. Once the money left, then the industry died. Well, that just sounds like it's propped up by the government.
Jeff, they get them started. They get them started with battery plants, windmills, solar panels, all of that. And part of the problem is you can't believe, and I don't want this to just sound political, but you played it earlier. Trump lied to the Davos people, and they know it. They know they got lied to. And you quoted it right on the show when Trump said, well, they build windmills, but they don't use them. They have the largest windmill farms in the world. The largest one is a 7,000 windmill farm. China has set out a goal that all of the AI plants that use so much power, it has to be 100% green. They don't want them depending on oil.
But they also have the largest coal production. I mean, I don't.
Well, it's because it's still a bridge to the future. It's like oil. It's a bridge to the future, but they're investing in the future.
You really think that wins the future? I mean, it literally can't stand on its own. It has to be entirely propped up by the government.
Wind, batteries, solar, all of it as an alternative. And you can sit here, oh, China's wrong, but that's what they're shipping all over the world. They're shipping hydro energy generators,
Yeah, I think
windmills.
I think to Trump's point that the suckers are buying them because, I mean, look, Colorado has a plan to be totally green by 2040, and all we have are government jobs. We don't have manufacturing in this state.
Well, you're saying it again. Trump said they're all suckers. That's what's going on around the world. They believe, the rest of the world believes in green energy. We don't. And Trump has killed all of those projects. It was Biden's goal to help make them competitive enough to compete against China eventually. And
I don't think it worked. I think it was government
track.
manufacturing in an effort to prop up a political belief that just doesn't work in reality. All right, we'll continue. Jeff and Bill.